And I shall move on to my next dream then. In this dream, I would find myself in an underground transportation facility, like a tube station network. I was the only one there that I could see, and then a tremendous rumbling commenced, and the place started to crumble and destruct. I fled the scene and exited to the surface, just as the entire structure collapsed. The dream experience, or demonstration, would have ended there. The impression I had was that I had possibly released a tap line, or an agreement, or an attachment, and this was the over-exaggerated nature of the dream demonstrating this to me. However, in the dream, I made a request to see more, not the specifics of the agreement, but extra detail, as I felt other elements were involved in the demonstration. This I was granted. The dream replayed, and this time the cause of the destruction of the underground system was revealed. Rebisar Tarzs was there, and he was rigging the place with explosives. Then he had one of those large detonator-type devices where you push down on a raised lever to the box. He did so, and the place was levelled. Amusingly, he played dead, as he remained in the destruction, but I knew he was far from dead. So perhaps then it was enough for me to know the agreement attachment was dealt with, but additional replay information would reveal Rebisar's involvement and assistance in shifting this tapline agreement or attachment. I must have wanted it to be removed, or the guides couldn't have intervened, but maybe it was a difficult removal indeed, and so the effectiveness of the new using, the real connection, and the invaluable assistance of the guides is plain to see.
Yes, that's very good, and that's exactly it. So what they did is they helped you. So they created this demonstration that's exaggerated, and Rebisar playing dead. Well, that was a demonstration of this attachment is dead. Let it be. I've had experiences like that before, rather huge and profound, to where ideas, I would see them, like even in the distance in a huge area, all of a sudden destroyed, etc. And the boys would sometimes come up and say, "Is this okay with you?" In other words, yes, see, just even your willingness, as you're going along here, your willingness, you're willing to give up these things, etc. And these are simply old restrictions, is what they are. And so, yeah, it's this is why when people have real side experiences, or their dreams, which they call them, you see, it's a dream when you're not aware. That's where you start off with, oh, I had this dream. But as after a while, you start to become aware that you're having these experiences, and there's a purpose to them, and something's being demonstrated. And so it's very, very exaggerated. And yes, it takes a while to understand. So, it's like taking a child into a university. There's words in that are similar, but it's still hard to understand. But as you go along, and it takes a lot of tolerance. A huge amount of tolerance and patience and endurance and everything to do this. This is where the spiritual paths and all that stuff, we started off with those things for lifetimes. They don't work anymore for what we're doing. They can work for other people. Those are for the babysitters. But to try and bring those things along, none of it works. None of it. The old wisdom and whatever, etc. These things are all being swept away, see, until you recognize yourself as a free being of real light, and then perceive the isness life is. So yeah, good for you, Kevin. Thank you so much. That was cool.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. And my next dream involved aliens. I always like dreams of aliens, because aliens, in my opinion, are pretty cool. So here I was, in a kind of intergalactic trading base, and there were aliens of every type and description, and I was an alien too, and some of the aliens were beyond my ability to describe, in fact. All the species there seemed very tolerant, tolerant of each other. The base did have defence capability, though, as always, there was potentially the threat of attack by those that would take rather than trade. I was an alien of a kind. I knew this, but wasn't really considering it, so I didn't examine myself or look at my alien body, so I can't tell you what I was exactly. I shared a little two-man ship with a squid-like creature. This seemed a very effective, mutually symbiotic situation, as what this squid-like creature breathed out, I breathed in, and vice versa, so the ship didn't need whatever element we required for breath. But worse than the possibility of rogue attack was the fact that my irritating sister was there. She was an alien too, and she was still being irritating. We were vaguely communicating. I mean, I was imagining that she was possibly dismissing my contention, maybe, that there was a planet Earth with ape-like beings called humans on it or something. I wouldn't be surprised. And all the aliens there, including me, were engaging in conversation back and forth. Even the subject of reptilians popped up. And yes, apparently we would trade with them, as they weren't all bad, but always we'd treat them with caution when they entered our sector. They were not the most trustworthy of species. And I was trading specifically with one alien, and like the other alien I recognised as my sister, this one I recognised as Charles. New friend Charles from Africa. And what I was trading seemed to be hamburgers, or at least they looked very much like them. And I also had a stash of what looked like muffins too, but I didn't want to share them. I wanted to keep them to myself. So, in this dream, we were all basically trading, exchanging, you could say sharing, so supporting each other, sharing something with another and vice versa, a little like we do with the new presentation. But I didn't want to share whatever my muffins represented, so maybe it demonstrates there's something I ought to be doing or sharing, but have not done as yet. Maybe it's something there that I'm not yet aware of, that may be unveiled in time. Because as we know, we must face all of life and ourselves, and shine a light on all the gloomy, cobwebby parts that have not been addressed for lifetimes, and may still be affecting us subconsciously.
Is that it?
Yep, that ends the alien adventure.
Well, that's terrific. See, there you go. You're a movie maker. You're a step beyond Spielberg. Okay, so that's just terrific, Kevin, and how you explain that and have these experiences. And of course, it's always interesting. There's your nagging sister. Okay, so you need a character like that, right? It kind of makes it interesting. Keeps you on your toes. But no, that's terrific. Your presentation is just great. As you provide this, your experience, just through your experiences and your knowledge, you have so much to share out there. But it's okay. You can have the cupcakes. Some things you got to keep to yourself.
Okay, then. I'll be stingy and keep me muffins. Yeah. All right, then. In this next dream, just prior to the dream, I was reading New Book 7, and as I closed the book, I would regard the depiction on the front for a time, the guides portrayed there, and they seemed very vibrant and alive, even in their picture. And then, as I drift into sleep, I began to receive impressions of the guides as I slip under, and I'm thinking I may well have a dream to pay attention to. I emerged, in my dream, into a very captivating, delightful, and colourful setting. The individuals there were equally as charming and hospitable. I was taking in the scene, And then the impression of a guide communicating with me grabbed my attention. It was an impression more so than words or a visual interaction. Were I to convert it to dialogue, the communication would be along the lines of, "Yes, this is a lovely spot, but do you really want to only go this far and no further?" So I took this to mean it was a nice area beyond the physical, but nonetheless an area in creation. My response would be to the guide, through our impression communication, I'll call it, that this isn't the 7th level or the real universe, is it? I received affirmation of this from the guide. I then chatted with the individuals in this place. Perplexed were they with my intention not to stay in the undoubtedly very nice place. It seems they felt this place to be the ultimate expression of being, and they were seemingly unknowing of the real universes beyond creation. My dream would end, but I have learned to try to resist the urge to snap into wakefulness. Instead, I rise from it gradually, maybe even maintain the state between wakefulness and sleep, as I can get further information and impressions on the physical this way. Sometimes I have strange phenomena occurring in my room that make sense on some level, not always to my physical literal self when I maintain this place between wakefulness and sleep. Sometimes from here I can even replay the dream, slip back into sleep to glean a detail I had missed or overlooked, or I might get a strange visitor in my room. As an example, I have 2 wooden staffs that while in the between wake and sleep state, after a dream, will change colour, length and shape, and this seems to make sense to my real self. On this occasion, after the dream I have just recounted, I have 2 figurines of werewolves on a cupboard, and these often change shape and adopt different poses too after I emerge from a dream. So after this dream, they were werewolves no more. They were changed temporarily into one being a robed individual with a beard that I had the impression was a guide, and the other was me. And above the temporarily reconfigured figures, the wallpaper behind them had the number 7 on it. This demonstration lasted as long as I remained in my between state, until I chose to wake fully. So I find it fascinating how the guides alter my room to provide a demonstration extension to my dreams. It's very creative of them. And as I've practiced being in this state of being, between sleep, which stems from my lucid dreaming astral projection days, the guides seem quite happy to utilise this for demonstration purposes too. So I would say the demonstration then confirmed the dream, the figure of a guide talking with me, and the 7 number representing the 7th level, that the place I found myself in the dream was not. So although a lovely place, I can recognise it as not the real universes, so therefore a comparison. And the figurines return to their usual werewolfy form, with their usual werewolfy countenances. But interestingly enough, the 7 actually remains, and actually the wallpaper seems to have the 7 repeated across the whole of it in the very pattern, maybe unintentionally, and I've never noticed it before, but there it is. It was always there then, always discernible. I just never saw it before, just like the real universes, I would say.
Wow, Kevin, that's terrific. Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, love it. Thank you.
Okay. And this is my final dream now. It's another spying dream. So I was thinking I must have been inspired by Sandy and Bob when they had their Ekankar seminar infiltration. Because I was listening to that again a couple of weeks ago, so maybe that, as I inspired me to have some spying dreams of my own. This time, during my spying, I was not alone. I had an accomplice It was Gwen, and seems I dragged her along for the adventure. There was a place where ill-intended witches and general no-gooders were assembling. We elected to choose a very unique vantage point to spy on them and their dastardly schemes. Gwen and I utilised the ability to pass through solid objects, like ethereal ghosts might, and lurk within the confines of a large rock that was stationed at the gathering. We lurked, we observed, and it must have been a see-through rock, therefore for us to be able to observe from the inside out, but they couldn't see us inside the rock. So it was like one of those one-way viewing mirrors that you see in the police interrogation room scenes. And we listened as the witches schemed. Some of the witches became aware of our presence, no fools they, and began to make magics to unveil our position. Naturally, this wouldn't be very good for us. I'm sure Gwen didn't relish the prospect of being turned into a toad, so we teleported to safe haven. And I'm doing a lot of teleporting in my dreams of late. I seem to build up energy within myself and focus on another location, and off I go. And it's got me out of some tricky situations and scrapes and hair-raising situations, I can tell you. And on this occasion, the witches were denied. And I wonder if it was maybe Joni and her band of witches we were spying on. Quite possibly. Later on, the dream would move to another scene. We seemed to be negotiating a peace between two groups of individuals. They seemed to be shapeshifters of a kind, and they could assume the forms of bipedal cats and bears. Whatever their grievances were, we were successful in resolving them. So all in all, a good night's work, spying and resolving peace between rival beings.
Well, you're doing your job, that's for sure, young man. Thank you. Yes, this is what it takes for people to wake up, because creation has become what it has, and you see, this is the adventure too while we're here. And that is because of all the people that are unaware. They have the possibility, because creation is constantly imploding upon itself. These are all the black holes, etc. Again, I suggest people see the movie Forbidden Planet. It's a very good description of how people are subconsciously controlled. That's very important to understand. Not just the surface world. This is a very small part of it. And then as you go to the real side and also see all the different levels, etc. So yeah, that's really cool, Kevin. You're on your adventure. This is where you pick it up and people become involved, not just collecting the knowledge, not just reading the books and whatever, but actually stepping up here and on the real side to take part in the whole adventure of life and what it is. And that is that life is all about survival. It's not about lifestyle so much. We have, people are always trying to chase or maintain a lifestyle here. And this is the monetary system that's been created for people to chase money, etc. Yes, well, we have that. Okay, we deal with it. But this is not the idea. But through this, through all these agreements that have been created in all these systems, the galaxies, all of creation is imploding upon itself. And this is what people don't see. And that is just like the black holes that suck in all the stars and planets, etc. It becomes a blackness that you got to finally figure out how to get out of it. And we, in the new presentation here, we have created a shortcut for people to get through this. But if you just want to still be in your la-la land, have fun, because you'll just collect the knowledge, and most people, I've seen it, will be sucked back. I've seen so many people that have taken part, etc. So see, you're moving forward, you might say. You're taking on the adventure, and you're being the risk taker. I say you're stepping up and you're presenting this to the world. And the dark forces don't like you, like the witches and whatever. Yeah, could be Joni, it doesn't matter. There's a lot bigger ones too. There's a little bigger ones, whatever. They don't like to be interrupted. They're they have a right to create and at the same time bother others, but you have the right to defend yourself and have the adventure too, like Robin Hood. So, yeah, these are terrific, demonstrations and experiences and, adventures that you're sharing here, Kevin. It's great. Thank you.